Kaaba.
Okay, wait.
Disciple is also one with the Father. So would that make the disciples God? According to the earlier statement, it makes Jesus God. It should make the disciples God too.
Exactly.
This is consistency.
I believe we can.
Are you and Jesus one? Are you?
Yeah, I believe that. Yeah.
You
Because
and
of the Holy
Jesus are
Spirit.
one.
Because of the Holy Spirit who came to.
Are you Jesus? You and Jesus
I
one?
am in Christ Jesus. I
Are
am
you
in Him, by His
in
Spirit?
one? You and Jesus. Are you?
Yeah, by His Spirit I am one with Christ.
Are you just like Jesus is one God? Are you the same with God, Jesus?
I can show you a
See,
scripture.
the way Jesus and the Father are one, as he says,
Yeah.
is it the same way you
Exactly.
are also one with them?
That's what I said. Exactly. That's exactly what I said. Yes. You understand my question?
Because if that makes Jesus God, because he is one with the Father, so are the disciples, all the believers, one with
And
them.
Him too. Him too.
What did you say? I'm reading.
If Jesus and the Father being one makes Jesus God, the disciples are exactly the same one with the Father and the Jesus. That would make them God too.
And Him too.
Yeah, but I believe we are one with Christ. If we come to
But
born again.
but if you say Jesus is God because he's one with the Father, that makes the believers one with God and God as well.
Yeah, I believe if you are being born again, you
you
will
become God?
a child.
How would you become God then?
A child. No, not as God.
What makes Jesus God because he's one with the Father?
Because he was without sin, and I was sinful. He died for me in place of.
But the statement that you said earlier, Jesus and the Father are one.
Yeah,
Yeah? Does that make him God? You said yes.
I'm not God. I'm just a follower of Jesus
No, no.
Christ.
That make Jesus God earlier when you said he and the Father are one.
You brought this, you said, you brought this verse, yeah?
Yeah.
And you, by this verse, you saying is make him a God, Jesus. What the brother saying, he bring you another verse
Yeah.
with the disciple, why they are not gods and Jesus is a God. What's the difference? Correct? Or
Yeah, exactly. They're the same oneness.
One more time.
Jesus says, as you quoted earlier, I and the Father are one. Yeah? And I said one what? He said one God.
Yeah.
The same oneness
Yeah.
is also applied to the disciples and the believers.
Yeah. By the Holy Spirit.
They're also one.
Yeah.
So they should also be part of God.
Yeah. We are part of God. Indeed.
how many gods now they count?
Part of God. We are belonging to Him. To Jesus Christ.
Part.
He
What
did.
part? Kind of part?
We are part of His DNA by His Holy Spirit. Yeah. Are you Christian? Yeah. So I believe that. Part of DNA.
So do you worship Christ?
Yeah, of course. With all my heart.
So should people worship you because you're also one with the Father?
Of course not.
Why not?
That will be adultery.
What makes Christ deserving worship?
He was without sin.
So a baby who's born without sin
Yeah.
is a baby deserving worship.
No, but and baby doesn't know the difference between good and evil. So when
Baby-
the baby grows up,
when the baby
he
is
gets
born-
old to the point
No.
when he can make his own decisions.
I'm not asking worship the baby when the baby becomes older. When the baby is 1 day old, is this baby God? Because the baby is not with sin.
What did you say?
When a baby is just born,
Yeah.
the baby hasn't got any sin.
No, of course not. But I believe if we're born, we are under the law of sin.
But the
It's
baby hasn't committed
it's
any
like
sin.
The law of gravity, you know. And Jesus break that curse.
But the baby has not committed any sin.
Yeah, but he is not born like out of a virgin. So he is also part of the sinful world.
Was the mother of Christ sinful?
Yeah.
What? She was sinful. Anyone who comes from a sinful person, can it be sinless?
Because of the Holy Spirit, you get birthed by the Holy Spirit.
So you're saying it doesn't matter what your father is, good or bad, you can be sinless by the Holy Spirit.
But by what Jesus did for us. And
Jesus-
I believe you can. You will sanctify your life. You sin less. You sin less through the power of the Holy Spirit.
Let's talk about the sinlessness. when the baby is born, at that very moment,
I believe the baby is under the law
is
of
this
sin and
baby
death.
a sinner when the baby is just born?
Yeah, he has the same problem as you with me.
I'm not asking you what same problem.
Sinner.
The
The baby
baby,
is a sinner
what sin did the baby commit when they were born?
because it's the state of the humankind where we're living in right now. We
So
are-
God creates you and puts you a sin already the moment you're born.
because we are all born, we are all getting birth under the law of sin. And
Let's
that-
understand
it's because of
how
the root
God
of
created
Adam
us.
and Eve, right?
Has God created us, according to your belief, with a clean slate where there is no reward or punishment, but you start from there, and then when you become mature and
But
intellectually
I think we
discerning-
we will never get out of this.
no, listen, Yalma,
No.
a sin
What is sin?
is an act of disobedience
Yeah, right.
of God's will.
Law, yeah, law of God.
A baby who's just been born,
Yeah.
does this baby know what is God's will and what
No, of
should
course
follow
not.
or not?
No,
Right.
exactly.
So can the baby who's just been born sin?
Because
No, cannot be.
when is the baby when he grow up?
Don't grow up. A baby.
baby.
One
Talk
day,
about, let's
one day.
When the
do you
baby
talk
died-
about the baby when the baby is just born?
Yeah.
This baby who's just been born, has this baby committed any sin?
No.
Right. So it's sinless.
Sinless.
Does that make that baby being sinless God?
Yeah.
Yes.
Is this baby God?
No, of course not.
So the baby is sinless. So the
I
baby.
have to think. It's a lot
Yeah,
of
yeah.
information,
Don't
right?
focus
Fine.
what is.
I have
Ba-
to listen.
You're not paying attention what the brother
No,
says.
he is.
Please.
The baby is sinless.
Yeah.
But the baby, because being sinless, it doesn't make the baby God.
The baby is not born out of the Holy Spirit, and Jesus was out of the Holy Spirit. And
Let's-
that is the difference.
let's understand the reason
between
first.
the baby Jesus and the baby.
No,
who
you
is
talked
out-
about the reason why Jesus is worthy of worship is because he's sinless.
Yeah,
So we have
he was
now,
conceived out of the Holy Spirit
listen, what's the reason again Jesus is worthy of worship?
because he was sinless.
Okay, one point at a time. He was sinless.
He was sinless.
So now we have a baby who's sinless.
Yeah.
And yet, is the baby worthy of worship? Because the baby is sinless.
But-
So sinlessness, not having a sin, doesn't make you worthy of worship. Do you follow?
Sin, one more time.
If you are sinless, it doesn't make it worthy of being worshipped because you are sinless. If a baby is sinless, it doesn't mean the baby deserves our worship.
But the difference is Jesus was out of the Holy Spirit, and we are birth like a natural birth.
We will
by step.
identify one at a time.
Yeah.
So the reason you think Jesus is worthy of worship was sinless, but we have a baby who is sinless, and yet you say the baby is not worthy of worship.
No.
So that means whether you have sin or not, it doesn't make you worthy of worship because you are sinless. Because if it made someone worthy of worship because you are sinless, the baby should be worthy of worship.
Yeah.
Because you don't worship the baby, it means there's some other reasons.
Next
So what other reasons are you considering why Jesus is worthy of worship?
He took our sins on the cross. He died for humankind,
Okay.
and he rose again.
When you say someone takes your sin, dies on the cross, and rises again, that makes someone worthy of worship?
One more time.
If someone dies for you,
Yeah.
takes your sin away,
Yeah.
and rises again,
Yeah.
that makes that person worthy of worship.
Jesus. Yeah.
You see, let's say we want to know who to worship, right? Are we going to worship this umbrella?
Are you worshiping Allah?
Yes.
How
Let's,
do you do that? How do you
let's understand one thing. Are we going to worship this umbrella?
No.
Why not?
That's strange, right? That's strange, right?
No, why not?
Why does this umbrella not deserve our worship?
It's just an object.
It's an object. It's a creation.
It's made by human beings.
Yeah. How about this man? Is he worthy of worship?
No.
Why not?
No, because we have the same problem.
What's
We are
the
not God.
How do you know that?
No, you see, we are trying to identify God is a being who's worthy of worship. So who is worthy of worship? This umbrella?
No.
This man or this tree, whatever. So this man, why is he not worthy of worship?